Recording now, this is lesson 5.2, a continuation of comparing and ordering mixed numbers and improper fractions, but this time we're going to be using common denominators. So hopefully you've watched the previous lesson video 5.2 on comparing and ordering improper fractions and mixed numbers using number lines. So please make sure you've watched that video first. For this video, please have a graph sheet of paper with you, a pencil, and a ruler or a different colored pen. So if you need to grab those items, please pause the recording and do so now. You can go ahead and write down what's on my page, today's date, the lesson 5.2, and then write down number 1 and the question here. So yes, 3/5 is repeated 3 times for a reason. So again, pause the recording as you need to catch up, and I'm going to continue right now. So writing equivalent fractions, this is a review from a concept or a skill that you learned in previous years. So last lesson, we dealt with a lot of simplifying, which is like the similar concept where you're doing the same operation to the numerator and denominator. So if you remember how to do this, go ahead, pause the recording, and come up with 3 different equivalent fractions to 3/5. But just as a review, let's do this. So 3/5 is already simplified. So I just want you to give 3 different equivalent fractions. Remember that fractions, to get equivalent fractions, you either multiply or divide the numerator and denominator by the same number. So we're going to multiply up because these are all simplified. So simply one way to do it is just multiply the numerator and denominator by 2, okay? Another way would be, I'm just going to go up here, 3 times 3, multiply the numerator and denominator by 3, and then you can also multiply the numerator and denominator by 4. So that will give you, again, different equivalent fractions. A favorite of mine is also 10 as well. Multiply the numerator and denominator by 10 because you're just adding a 0. If you want to pause it to check your answers before I do the answers here, go ahead. So 3/5 is equivalent to 6/10. If we do 3 times 3 and 5 times 3, 9/15, that's an equivalent. And then 3/5 times 4, 5 times 4, that's 12/20. Okay, so those are equivalent fractions. Now, we can also do this with mixed numbers and improper fractions too. So again, same thing, write the equivalent fraction. Actually, I'm not even going to do number 2. We can do the same thing with a mixed number. So say if I added a 2 and I said 2 3/5, okay, give me an, I'll make sure this is lined up here properly. Let's fix this. Okay, so 2 3/5, what would be an equivalent fraction? You can apply the same principle too. So let's say I did both the numerator and denominator times 2, but what I have to remember is I have to carry over the whole number because the whole number stays the same, right? The whole number stays the same, but in this case, because you're writing an equivalent fraction, you're going to change the denominator. So what am I going to choose here? Let's just do times 2, right? Times 2. And we know that's going to carry over to the next part of the fraction here. So the equivalent of 2 3/5 would be 2 6/10. Okay? So it's the same idea. If we had an improper fraction, same thing. So 14/6. Now we can reduce this because you know that the numerator and denominator, if we look at the end digits here, are divisible by 2. But let's just say that we want another equivalent. We're trying to get it over a common denominator with something else. So I multiplied times 3 to the numerator and denominator. So I'm going to end up with 42/18. Oops. Okay, so the same idea. Again, you multiply the numerator and denominator by the same number, okay? Now, this moves into ordering or comparing. So I want you to compare, which is greater. And the way I want you to solve this is I want you to put over a common denominator. Okay, so I want you to also write a note to yourself here that this involves accessing and applying your divisibility rules again, as well as perhaps thinking about the lowest common multiple, or it's the lowest common denominator in this case of the two numbers, okay? So I want you to look at 7 over 5, and this time it's over common denominators. You don't have the number line this time. And I want you to look at 11 over 4. Let's line that up nicely again. Okay, sorry, 11 over 4. We'll do 2 and 1. Okay. So you're going to look at, and I'm going to highlight here, I'm going to look at the denominators of 5 and of 4, and I'm thinking, okay, what is the LCM, or the lowest common denominator? What is the LCM of 5 and 4? So I'm thinking, okay, 5 and 4. I could do 5 times 4, which is 20. So I know that the lowest common denominator of 5 and 4 is 20. So in this case, you have to put it over common denominators so that you can compare them so that they're out of the same number of parts, okay? So then if you know that you can put 5 and 4 over 20, you're going to go 5 times 4 is 20, right? So that's how you get from 5 to 20, you multiply by 4. And then how do you get from 4 to 20 with multiplication? It's 4 times 5, which is 20. So whatever you do to the denominator, you do to the numerator. So 7 times 4, which gives you 28. And then 11 times 4, which would get, 11 times 5, right? 11 times 5, which would give you 55. Okay, so you've got 28 over 20 and 55 over 20. Now you can tell which one is bigger, right? So therefore, 11 over 4 is greater than 7 over 5, okay? So let's summarize that. 11 over 4 is greater than 7 over 5. So what you did was you found the LCM of 5 and 4, okay? So that's a strategy you would use when you're trying to compare and order mixed numbers and improper fractions. Okay, let's do one more example where it involves a mixture of mixed numbers and improper fractions. Okay, so let's look at number 3. Using common denominators, you're going to order from greatest to least. Okay, and again, feel free to pause this and check your answers if you would like to work ahead. Okay, so I'm going to write down 3. So we've got 1 and 2 eighths. We've got 7 over 6. And we've got 6 over 4. Okay, so again, we don't have common denominators. And so the other issue is not only do we not have common denominators, we also have 2 improper fractions and we have 1 mixed number. So the other thing I would suggest is make sure they're all in the same format. Now, since 2 out of the 3 are improper fractions, I would actually take the 1 and 2 eighths and I would put that or convert it into an improper fraction. So go ahead and do that. That would be my suggestion. I would put that as 10 over 8, okay? So just so that you have it. So again, I'm looking at all 3 denominators. So I've got 8, 6, and 4. So you're thinking, okay, you're thinking divisibility. And you're thinking, okay, what is the LCM of 8, 6, and 4? You could multiply 8 times 6 times 4. You would get a denominator that's common. You don't always have to get the LCM. That's the other thing I want to point out. So ideally, you want to be working with smaller denominators. LCM is ideal, but if you can't get the LCM, that's okay, so long as you get them over a common denominator. So think, what is the LCM of these 3 numbers? Well, the LCM, the closest one I can get is 24. Now, if you thought 48, again, that's totally fine. You can work with 48. I'm going to use 24. Now, I'm going to set this up down below so that I have it lined up. So I have something over 24, something over 24, and, something over 24. Okay. just so it's lined up underneath each mixed number or improper fraction. Okay, so I'm gonna look here to 6 over 4 here. So how do I get from 4 to 24? I multiply by 6, so 4 times 6 is 24. 6 times 6 gives me 36 over 24. Okay, so I've taken care of that. So I'm going to convert this one to a fraction over 24. How do I get from 6 to 24? I multiply by 4. Therefore, 7 times 4 is 28. Okay, so just so you know, that's okay. So the last one here, I'm going to use the 10 over 8 here. So how do I get from 8 to 24? 8 times 3 and 10 times 3. So the last one is going to be 30 over 24. So those are all of the fractions converted to a common denominator. So then I can see which one is the biggest one. Well, the biggest one is going to be this one, which is 6 over 4. So I know that 6 over 4 is the biggest. And then I know my next biggest is going to be 1 and 2/8 because that's 10 over 8. I'm going to go back to that because that's 30 over 24. And I know my smallest is going to be the one equivalent to 28 over 24, which is 7 over 6. So that is how you use common denominators to order any mixed numbers or improper fractions to greatest to least. So make sure they're all in the same format, so either all mixed numbers or all improper fractions. Figure out what the LCM is ideally, or a common denominator of the three, and then convert, and then you can simply order it and put it back into its original format.